Before our guests join us, I'd like to read one review from our listener. This one is from Emiko R. with the title, Love This Show. I love this podcast because this is the type of podcast I have been looking for. As a Japanese immigrant woman, I really appreciate hearing from other Asian women's honest conversation that I can relate to. Kimchi is also a great host. She brings inspiring guests and encourages us to live life loud. Thank you, Kimchi, for creating this. You are amazing. Wow, thank you, Emiko R, for your kind review. I'm happy to hear that this podcast gives you what you are looking for. Please keep listening and sharing this podcast. Now, join me to welcome our guest for today. Mary Tan is a Taiwanese-American woman, international best-selling author, speaker, business strategist, and high priestess on mission as the Queen Maker, who frees women to claim their voice, message, and mission to make a greater impact in this world. She is a founder of Light Warrior School, an institution for children, and Priestess Leadership School, a school for moms. Mary is passionate about helping moms coach their sensitive and strong-willed children through emotional challenges with great confidence. When she's not changing the world, she's home having a salsa dance party with her incredible husband and 2 little girls in Southern California. Welcome, Mary Tan.
Thank you so much for having me, Kimchi. It's such an honor. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Mary, tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Oh, wow. That's a big one. I'll try to keep it short because it's pretty juicy and it's pretty dramatic and entertaining, which is why I do what I do. I'm so passionate. You know, when we overcome such big challenges, a lot of times it becomes our passion to help others lift up. So I'm the firstborn in America to 2 Taiwanese parents. I didn't realize till later on, I have one older brother, I didn't realize till later on in my adult years that they're actually both narcissistic and one is bipolar. So that makes for a very, very toxic and abusive and difficult childhood. Luckily, I had an older brother and together we were allies and we just laughed our way through. And that's what kept us sane and alive. Honestly, we joke all the time about, wow, how did we make it? Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you come here to America?
Well, I was born in America. My brother was born in Taiwan. And we moved all around the world because of my father's work. And we moved every 3 years to a new country. And then, so there was a lot of instability physically, and then there was a lot of instability internally. And we were, as Asians, Asian American, at home I was only allowed to speak Taiwanese and Mandarin, and at school there was only English. And it was very, very strict upbringing. I think a lot of people in my generation that moved here, just like my story, probably experienced the same culture clash. I felt like I was living 2 lives. I had to be seen and not heard. I had no voice, no opinion. I just had to follow rules, speak when spoken to. So very, very strict. No TV, no sleepovers, no phone. It was a different experience than the children have today.
Yeah, I understand that. So, who were your role model then when you were a child?
Yeah.
Your role model was your parents?
Isn't that interesting? Because as children, we don't know any better. Children are born into a situation, a scenario, a blueprint. They don't know that there's anything wrong with it. That's all they know. And that's why I said it took me till adult years to look back and have the aha moment of, you know, studying psychology and all the different mental technologies that are available today, that I realized, oh my gosh, you know, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know that it was really like diagnosed with bad. And as a child, I absolutely did look up, like most children do to their parents. They put them on a pedestal and see them as idols and perfect. And so when that crash came down, it was challenging to deal with. They were abusive and neglectful. They left us in America and moved back to Taiwan when I was 13, and never came back. And they never sent a memo to say, hey, we're not coming back. I just had to figure that out eventually. And we lived in a mansion, and they gave us a checkbook, and they said, handle it. And I had to handle 7-bedroom suite and 7 acres of land in New Jersey. And I abused drugs for 10 years, from 13 to 23, alcohol, drugs. I made a lot of negative decisions because I was seeking love and approval and belongingness from, I deserved that from my parents. And they clearly were incapable of doing that. No judgment. It's just that literally was all they can do. So here we are.
Wow. So both of you were here in America. You were 13 years old, and your older brother, right?
16.
16. Okay.
No guardians.
No guardians?
Not one guardian, not one.
Oh my God. Oh my God, they are so brave. Either they are brave or they're stupid.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So you handle everything like real estate tax, property tax, and everything?
They handled that part. They better have, because I would have messed it up and we would have lost the property. But we were in charge of all the bills. It was out in horse country. So it was like septic tanks and landscapers. And it's a lot to manage a big property like that as a child.
Mm-hmm. How did it shape you to be who you are today?
Such a good question. And it shaped me in a way that I get to help other women, and other women who are going through their own forms of PTSD or stunted inner child. We all have an inner child, whether or not we know it. And if you've gone through trauma of any kind, you need to go back and retrieve those pieces of yourselves in your mind. Like you have this timeline in your mind and in your heart. You need to go back and retrieve these really wounded parts of ourselves so that we can come back to wholeness. But in a more tangible way, to explain, one great thing is that because I had to be the glue, have the structure, hold it all together, make it happen. I had to go to school. I went through NYU in 4 years. I'm not even sure how that happened, through all the drugs and seeking love in all the most negative ways. But I made it happen, and that speaks to how I just had to have that structure and make things happen and not deal with the internal emotions until later, when you cannot deny it and it comes through physically, spiritually, psychologically, where you just have to deal with it or you go insane. But one thing I teach is you have to recognize the old part of you that helped you get to where you are today, and then retire it. Be so grateful that part of, let's use me as an example, that child self that had to keep it all together to make things happen. Well, it's time for her to retire. Thank you so much, but you don't need to do that anymore. Now I can just relax in the flow, utilize the strategies and the structures that I learned, but no longer have to be perfect and be fight or flight, and some of the negative parts can be retired. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So how and when did you come up with the idea for the Light Warrior School?
That's a good one too. So I've been empowering women forever, been attempting to rescue my mom since a child. And so even as an adult, that's what I did, coaching women, empowerment and teaching empowerment tools. And then the divine gave me 2 daughters. They're now 3 and 6. And so I came out of meditation one day, and I just kept writing and writing the vision until I was done. And I named it the Optimal Human Development. The purpose of it was to be a manual, partially from the divine, partially just my own experiences of all my studies, of mind, body, spirit, mental technologies, psychology, to give them something that if I were to die too soon, they would have the best of what I know. And then I would just continue to upgrade that as I evolve. And out of that came the Light Warrior School for children. I was just supplying a solution to a real need. And then I opened that up to the public, and people came and they were so grateful to find a place that they belonged in. And the whole purpose of the school is to allow the children to have a space where the tagline is raising the next generation of soul-guided leaders. We're all here in a physical form to do something important. And that is to remember that we are light, we are love, and we are here to collaborate and lift each other up. And not be suppressed to forget our passions and our mission on this planet. So we give the children the tools of this world, of this life, so they can go out and fulfill their mission when they become bigger.
Mm. So what did you get, what did you study from NYU?
I studied psychology.
Ah, that's what I thought. It's like, were you trained as a teacher or a child psychologist?
No, I was not, no.
Okay.
No.
But just a psychology, okay.
Yeah.
So what areas or method are you teaching in this Light Warrior School?
Yes, we use a Waldorf curriculum to cover, because it's a proven system. So as far as the academics go with the math, science, literacy, social studies, we utilize something that's already proven that many people use. So we use that for that. What makes us stand out and different is that we layer on top the emotional intelligence training, which is my specialty, one of my specialties. Emotional intelligence, how to understand what is their emotion and why are they feeling that and naming it. What is somebody else's emotions and reading body language and cues and how to interact and negotiate so that it's a win-win-win. So many abilities to put in boundaries energetically with their words, with their bodies and physicality. So giving them these soft skills and soft tools that actually make us stand apart from AI and competition out there. We don't really believe in competition. We believe in being the best that you can be and reaching for excellence. So emotional intelligence, and also tools like meditation, self-regulation, self-awareness, understanding their role of man, child, in relation to the universe. We are so small. So there's a lot of spirituality, if you want to call it that, we do, of understanding the role we play with nature.
How old are the kids who attend this school?
So the only reason I have this school is because I have children of my own. Otherwise, this would never be in my life path. And I tell them that all the time. And so this is their school that they have basically birthed through me as their facilitator. And that's how I view parents and teachers, that we are here to facilitate the children and their wisdom. And so the children right now are young. It's K through 2, K through 2nd grade. So they're very young. And we only keep it very small to 6 to 8 children at a time. We actually prefer 6. And the reason for that is because we are very intensely training on the emotional intelligence. And that means we allow them to have the autonomy where they can have conflict arise, which is welcomed, and it's often, and it's normal. So that there's an opportunity to teach them and mirror back what's happening, dissect it, give them words and tools of how to navigate, versus I'm not going to put down the public system. I mean, it speaks volumes that we're not there, so that gives you, my idea of it. But what I see of not working in the system is that there's no autonomy, there's no opportunity for conflict resolution, which is where you learn communication effectively, emotional intelligence skills.
Mm-hmm. So how long do they need to stay in this program?
We're doing this until high school, all through high school.
Wow, from kindergarten to high school?
Yes, but we're only enrolling K through 2 because it's going to grow with my oldest child's age. This is what's important, though, is that we're creating this curriculum that is going to be turnkey. And people are waitlisting right now in order to have this turnkey program to open up small pods like this in their own cities.
So you envision that there will be, could be a franchise or licensing to practice or to teach this methodology.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the program is taught during after school.
No, this is school hours. This is school. So this is Monday through Friday, 9 to 1.
They don't go to regular school.
This is in replacement of regular school because I don't believe in the regular school system option that's presented to us, and that's why I created a solution.
Wow, so you in this school you teach other subject as well.
Yep, math, science, literacy, geography, social studies, Chinese, Spanish.
Wow. Wow. Wow, so I see this can be huge. When did you start the Priestess Leadership School?
The Priestess Leadership School just got launched this year. And so this is about empowering women, not just moms, but women, because the parenting and being a mom and understanding the role of a queen, holding the space for your container at home, to invite your man to rise to his leadership position as well. Then imagine the empowerment you are creating automatically for the children that come into your container. A woman plays an enormously powerful role when she knows who she is. And it takes a process. And that is what the Priestess Leadership School is partially about. That's one portion. The other is teaching a lot of the healing modalities that I've mastered that's allowed me to claim my voice, my space, my power in a way that is not power over, but power from within, so that it can light the power and light within other people. That's the goal.
Yep, I totally believe in that. And that's one of the reasons that I start the Asian Women of Power, is to empower Asian women to live a great life, right? But ultimately, I want to transform the Asian culture. It starts with a woman. Yeah. So you say this school is not just for moms, right? Just for all women.
Yes, and in fact, it's optional. If the woman wants to, it is also a certification program as a healer, because there's psychic tools, intuition. We're all born with this ability they call the sixth sense. We all have it, although women are more open to tapping into it because somehow in the culture it's more acceptable for women to tune in. And we can really magnify that by spending time cultivating it. So women in the boardroom should be getting paid much more rather than getting paid less, because we have all these abilities to tap into the other senses. So how do you learn that? I spent many, many years activating and learning that. So I'm an activator and a teacher of that domain.
Hypnosis,
neuro-linguistic programming,
okay,
soul Akashic healing, ancestral healing, sacred codes. There's a lot of levels that we see the physicality, and a lot of people believe that we are just, I believe it when I see it, but that's opposite. A lot of the people who are studying the ancient wisdom will learn that you have to first believe it, then you will see it, right? Just like Napoleon Hill. So I'm not preaching anything that's brand new, but a lot of people are still unaware of the information that's been available for a long time.
Yeah. Is Akashic based on the numerology?
No. And I'm also a feng shui practitioner in the past, in another time. So I have a lot of modalities that I've put into one big fabric, but Akashic Records is every soul, right? So no matter what religion you believe or don't believe, we can all agree that there is some greater intelligence that breathes life force energy into all of us, right? Whether we do it through Qigong, we can feel it, or prana, or yoga. There is some greater intelligence breathing life through everything. And so the soul is energy, and energy doesn't die. It transforms. That's scientific. So the energy will just keep coming back into a different form. We call it incarnation, another body, another face, another name. And so the Akashic Records is a record of every soul's, every single incarnation into infinity, because it never dies. And you can access that from the past into the future and the present for healing, to unblock your own life from ancestral lineage, and even get mentorship from yourself from another lifetime that's mastered what you want to master.
Juicy, juicy. I say, oh, I want to see it. I want to get it done for me.
You got it.
Oh, okay. So when you start the Priestess Leadership School, your focus was to helping moms dealing with their children, active children, right? Then you move into focus on only women, not just moms, right? That's very interesting. What happened to the father's role in raising a child here?
It's a great question, because I have a huge place in my heart for men. It's just that the divine feminine has been rising. The planet itself has been under this patriarchy, more of a dominance from the male energy. Now, the father role is so important, and I know that very well, because my father, well, he chooses not to be in my life. And so I know that the repercussions of that were a lot of negative choices on my part, like I said earlier, to look for love, to replace that. And we need to have the father in the family. I need to first start with the mothers, because if the mothers don't claim their voices and their truths and their space and their leadership position in that relationship of the man and the woman, then it's not a healthy dynamic. I need to get her strong, and then we can teach her about how to raise the man up to meet her, right? So as an Asian, the thing that my husband and I had in our subconscious blueprint that we didn't even realize, to give you an example how this looks. So I claimed my voice. I had to do a lot of work to get into my mountaintop of saying I am the queen in a way that is loving, not power over. And what happened was, that's uncomfortable for an Asian, someone who was born of Asian descent and Asian training, because the woman is supposed to be quiet, the man rules, and he's the one who makes the money, and he has the power, and he has the say, and he has the control. So what happens when the woman claims her voice? She starts making money. She starts having opinions. And he didn't know he had that in his subconscious mind, because he is very Americanized. He's from the Philippines, born there. He's very open-minded American. But when you get married and then you become a parent, certain blueprints now get activated that you yourself didn't even know you had, which is very fascinating. And so we had to work through that awareness of, oh my gosh, me as the woman also was playing into the belief that subconsciously that, oh, I should be the woman behind the man. I should do what my mom did. I should just be quiet and support him to be in his greatness. And then lose myself. She lost herself. She lost all self-identity. And so I was like, no. And so when I rose, it triggered his subconscious belief that what we just spoke about, and it took awareness, mindfulness, effective communication, love, to come back to this awareness, to evolve together, to commitment, to evolve together individually and as a couple. That's why I start with a woman.
It's right on. That's my journey as well, right? Because I feel that I had to be strong, so I, just like you, I went out, invest a lot of learning about self-development, self-improvement, learn all kinds of things to heal myself, gain more confidence. And as I rise up, I see that my husband is still like at the bottom, and I spoke to him and say, you have a choice. Either, you You want to do something to catch me up. Otherwise, someday we would not be able to communicate, right? And people ask me, how long have you been coaching? I say, as long as I marry, right? I've been married for 30 plus years because I have been always coaching my husband, guiding him, supporting him, letting him know what's going on and how to support me and what works, what doesn't work, right? So he's my longest client. All right.
You must be good at what you do because you're still married after all these years.
I am still married. Yeah. And yes, it does take a strong woman to hold the marriage, right? Because it's so easy and so tempted to just like give up and say, that's it, he doesn't listen to me, so let's go our way, let's part, right? Many time I had that idea. I said, oh, he's not going to listen to me, he's so stubborn, and it's so hard to change him. But I keep persist, and I just do my way, and I show him how my way is better than an old way that he's thinking. And eventually he yield and he start following me. So I'm glad that he's here and he's still supporting me. He's actually is supporting me right now. I'm no longer supporting him. I'm kind of like, guiding him, supporting him in terms of a spouse, a partner. But I think he's more behind me. I'm more in front now. Yeah.
That's so beautiful, right? That's exactly what we're talking about right here, is that now you guys are both on your own mountaintops of leadership, of leading your own lives. And then sometimes we're behind the other, and sometimes they're behind us, and sometimes we're together. I could say the same thing about my husband and I. Now he's fully behind me, encouraging me and pushing me forward in the moments where I'm like, I'm scared, and he says, that's the reason why you want to go forward.
Yeah.
That's a sign that you and I have carved out that pathway that we're leading others onto.
Yeah. Right on. Okay. Your book, let's talk about your book. The new book is called The Empowered Child. It's about to publish soon, right? In the end of this month?
Yes, it's going to hit bookstores May 28th.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about it. What motivated you to write this book?
The reason I wrote this book was because once I opened the Light Warrior School and the parents were loving it, then they started, because I was already a coach to women. And so the moms were coming to me asking a lot of questions about how they can handle their children. Because a lot of the children that ended up coming to the school were psychic and empathic and very open and having these abilities. And there's no such thing as an accident. Everything is synchronistic. And so the parents were coming to me for coaching about their children. And so that's how I started pivoting and helping parents as well. And so the book came out of that because I wanted parents all over the world to be able to access some of the information that we were teaching the children, some of the tools that we were teaching them of how to be in this world, but not of the world. How can they go out into the world and make a difference, but not be so pushed around and thrown around by all the negative things in the news? So that's what we teach.
So how long did it take you to write it?
Yeah, that's a good one. Now, I hired a coach, and I had written a book that took 10 years. 10 years was the first time I thought of it. The writing actually took a year or two. And then I found a teacher to help me bring it to market. Well, I ended up writing a completely different book. That first book that hasn't been published will probably be published next year. But this book came out first because the divine wanted it to. And of course, the world really needs this kind of guidance and information. to help these new generations that come in that are very different than when I came in and when my mom's generation came in before. Because every generation we're getting more and more evolved and more conscious. And so that book, this book right here, The Empowered Child, is written for that reason.
And you say, how long did it take you with the coach?
To actually write it, probably 3 months.
Wow.
And that speaks to having strategies and systems, right? Anytime you want to, you're a coach, I'm a coach, so we know that. Whatever area of expertise that you are seeking to master, find someone who's mastered it, because they're going to have systems and strategies to help you figure out your own strategies and systems.
Absolutely. Yeah. Much faster, much more efficient and effective, right? Rather than, rather than yeah. Wow. So you wrote it, not somebody wrote it for you.
Yeah, I love writing to begin with. I've been journaling since I was 9 years old.
Wow.
So yeah, so and it was a delight to write. And the way I write, I channel a lot of the information as well.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. So this book is for a parent, a mom, or a child?
You're so good at these questions, because the book is called The Empowered Child. And here's a little secret. I did write it to the mom. It is for dads will gain knowledge. It's the same. I called it The Empowered Child because every parent wants to give their child the best that they can find, the best opportunities to excel. But once you pick up the book, you might be surprised about who it's really for. You know, like I hinted at it earlier, we all have an inner child that has some parts that are wounded out there within our subconscious mind. It has a timeline. And so this is going to give tools to the parent to improve and elevate themselves so that they can be the guide to facilitate their child. So it's for both. It's for everyone. It's for the whole family.
Wonderful. So now, what are your top 3 advices for Asian parents who want to raise a responsible and respectful child to grow up to be a good citizen, good leader, good father or mother, and a good son or daughter?
That's a great question. That's a big one. What are 3 tips I can give parents, Asian parents today? Oh yeah, this is a good one. You know, I wish that Asian parents knew more about the impact that they have on their children with the words that they say, the way that they say it, and the intentionality behind it. And that if you go one step behind that, there's 2 things. There's one, look at how you were parented. And if you haven't analyzed or been curious about how you experienced being a child and how you were parented, now is really the invitation for you to do so. Because you're either going to subconsciously repeat that without knowing it, and you might cringe if you do a little analysis of yourself and how your childhood was and what you didn't like, and whether or not you're unconsciously repeating that. That's number 1. That's step 1. Take the time to analyze how the culture passes down information of what a parent looks like, what a good parent is supposed to be and do, and what a good parent measures their success through what their child is behaving like.
Yeah.
So that's number 1, is to look and connect the dots from your child. How are they being? What are you complaining and not liking about? Then that's a mirror to look at yourself. What are you unconsciously repeating? And then connect the dots to how your childhood was with what your parents did, and then backwards as far as you can go. And that might open some beautiful conversations or difficult conversations with your ancestors, including your parents. So having that awareness and connecting the dots. Number 2 is being aware of different types of parenting styles. Authoritarian is so Asian. It's like, it's my way or the highway. And you can't make me lose face. If you don't dress properly and comb your hair and get straight A's and play piano, well then I'm going to lose face and that's not okay, so you're not okay. I feel like that's such a common story for Asians. They're so competitive and they're comparing their child. They're telling their child, well, look at Tommy. Tommy's got an A+. Why do you have an A-? What's wrong with you? Oh, and understanding the psychological repercussions of those types of communications. And then looking at yourself. Why do you have a fear of losing face in comparison to another person? What are you teaching? Did you like that when you were a child? Probably not. You probably went and hid in your room and cried in your pillow and thought to yourself, I'm a loser, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve to live. What do I need to do to gain the love of my parent? And so why is suicide rate so high in Japan for children? Because the competition in Asia for not only do they go to school, but they have hours of tutorial studies after school. It's just too much. What happened to playing in the dirt and getting dirty and being okay with my skin up here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, self-awareness, connecting the dots to where these beliefs came from and why they actually, do they matter? Do they actually matter? Or, looking at the rate of heart attack and heart disease and lung disease and connecting that to Chinese medicine or other alternative medicines. Alternative is the alternative. It's a return to ancient wisdom. But seeing a connection of stress and lack of connection to soul joy and living your purpose on this planet is killing people. You want to raise a generation that is different than that. That's my invitation.
Mm-hmm. So is that 3?
So number 3 would be...
I'm keeping track.
You're keeping track. I'm glad someone's keeping track. Number 3 would be to have the kind of environment. This is so important. Not only, so going back to number 1, okay, is like realizing you are the facilitator. You are the guide for these children that came through you. You are so lucky that you could actually give life. Not everybody has that privilege. Or even if you're lucky enough to adopt, not everybody has the means. Okay, so when you are having these children in your container, in your home, in your life, energetically, you are their guide. They do not belong to you because one day they will leave. So you have to check yourself. Because if you think this is your property and you own them, that is a very different communication and leadership and guidance. It's not true leadership that you're exercising. You're just being a dictator. And you're going to damage the relationship. They're not going to love you the way that you want them to love you. And then when you're old and you need them, then you're going to try and repair the relationship, and there's so much work. Okay, so that was back to number 1. Number 3 is connected. It's like you have to realize you have to hold this container that also allows open communication. If you can see them as another human being, they're a wise soul and spirit inside of a young body, just learning how to be in this world. Would you treat them differently? Would you, if they were the next Buddha and the next Christ in a young body, would you treat them differently? So I want you to, I'm talking to the parents that are listening. I want you to open your minds to not see them as someone who knows nothing. They actually know so much more, and they are our teachers. So that's number 3.
Wonderful, wonderful wisdom. Thank you. So how many, you mentioned about there's different types of parenting, right? A tiger mom, you say helicopter parent or something like that, right? So what's, can you share with us the difference between all those types?
Absolutely, absolutely. So authoritarian, we covered, is just like my way or the highway. There's the opposite, right? And usually children of authoritarian will go to the extreme opposite. And that's also seen generationally, because there's a collective consciousness. And that term, if the viewer doesn't know, is made up, the collective consciousness is made up of all the billions of people on the planet what they believe in. And that creates this energetic field on the planet of what the majority of people believe on the planet, and we call that the collective consciousness. And so that impacts generations of beliefs, ways of being, and ways of interacting. And so there's authoritarian, which I feel is older, and it's dying out, it's older paradigm. But then the complete opposite is like hands off. It's like, it's permissive. It's permissive parenting, where it's like they're almost afraid of the child. And I see that, where they're afraid to hurt their child's feelings. They're afraid to lead. So there's lack of leadership, and that causes its own array of issues, right? Because then you're raising a generation of children that have no sense of ownership of themselves, of taking care of their things, of their health, of their projects, activities, visions. Then that's a big job, and the parents are always going to be parenting into their 30s, 40s, like when their child is grown, right? And so we want to meet somewhere in the middle where you're leading, but you're creating this container that has structure and boundary of like, no, you cannot cross the street without looking both ways. You cannot just go with any stranger. You cannot touch the fire. It's going to burn you. So having some structures, but then creating a scenario where they're allowed to fall. They're allowed to fail. It's good for them. They're allowed to eat dirt once in a while and figure, I don't want that. They'll never eat it again. Allowing them to have a safe environment to fail in. And that is the goal, because then you're creating a generation of people who are going to be leaders because they have used their own abilities to discover what is true for them.
Yeah, I like that. So is there a term for that kind of parent?
Empowered parents.
Yes, empower parents. All right, I like that term. Okay. So is there any other questions that I haven't asked you that you think I should ask you?
I think, you're awesome. I think we're supposed to be friends forever, because I usually ask that question too to people when I'm learning something new. I'm like, what else do I need to know that I haven't asked? And I think that you've done a really good job in kind of excavating the key points for people who are listening. Is that, number one, I'm just going to recap, is that the woman is so extremely powerful, and we are rising. The momentum has been going on for women, the divine feminine energy, to be rising in comparison to the patriarchy of, like, if you look in government systems all around the world right now, I don't have to tell people, you guys know what I'm talking about. And so women at home need to do that with themselves. And once they claim their powers, then they can invite the man into their divine masculine powers. And then the children are naturally going to be modeling after. You're going to have the blueprint put into them by watching you. And that is the goal.
Thank you for kind word. Well, thank you for being here at the Asian Women of Power podcast, and best of luck on your book launch, and best of luck on your mission, Mary.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I just remembered something. I wanted to offer your audience a free copy of my book.
Yeah, how do they do that?
They can email me at mary@marytanempowers.com, and they'll get a free copy of my ebook. I'll send it right over to them.
It's an ebook. All right. That's Mary at Mary Empower.
Mary at Mary Tan Empowers.
Empower, right. So it will be on the blog post as well. Right. Yeah. Now back to you, our viewers. What is your number one thing that you have learned today from this interview? How are you going to implement it? Let us know your progress. Until next time, live life loud. Bye now.